second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passed. Public comment. We're here to listen.
All right.
I just, I asked David in the last meeting, I believe it was, for an email correspondence between Patty and yourself.
Yeah, I couldn't find that, so I must have deleted it when in my text messages on Facebook. Because I did look for it. I'm sorry I didn't.
It was in the
Didn't get that
subcommittee.
to you.
That subcommittee meeting. That's when you asked.
That was our
for it.
subcommittee meeting.
So is that, you know,
Yeah, it's
This-
I can't. I mean, it was through Facebook, and when I cleaned up Facebook, they're gone. So
do you still have that message, Patty?
I'm looking. I don't know. I have numerous messages here.
Facebook can be kind of unreliable for important messages. One day they're there, the next day they're gone.
Great grief. Nobody should have this many people on there. It may be on my Facebook instead of just
Well,
my comments.
yeah,
It is. I
yeah.
can get it.
Are we looking for bids
If
for
I can find it, just buy it.
We don't know, we just wait till we get there.
Okay, I didn't know since it.
It's newsletter, we can check.
And I was also wondering if there's anybody else on the board that I can file a sunshine law request to.
explain what you need.
Well, right now, legally, the village clerk has a no contact order with me
Okay.
due to some charges pending against her. So I need to file some sunshine law request forms. And it's my understanding under the ordinances that she's the person that I need to go through. So is there an alternative person that I can submit those forms to?
You can submit them to any board member.
I did find the message.
Yeah,
that I
probably
sent.
Patty.
So does that answer that question? Any board member?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you send me a copy of that
Read it to
message?
you. If you want me to read it to you, I will.
Copy.
I'm good on these things. I said, Dave, at last month's meeting, you indicated you would be willing to go around town and make note of any ordinance violations. I feel this might be the answer to our ordinance enforcement officer problem. I don't feel there will be that many violations to take care of. You would not receive any pay for this service, which seems to be the problem of the people against it. I do feel one other board member should go along with you when you check things out. I just wanted to give you a heads up that I was going to bring this up at the meeting if you are okay with it. I'm sure there will be some guidelines and rules you will have to review and have training in. Let me know if this works for you. Thanks, Patty. He said, sounds good, Patty. This might be a solution. I don't see many violations either. And it would be for out-of-town owners that we need to find and notify so we can bring it up for sure.
And when was the date and time of that message?
October 2nd at 4:00 p.m. 4:40 actually.
If you could save that for the time being, I'd appreciate it.
It'll
Thank
be
you.
there forever.
Didn't
because
I
I
go?
never deleted it.
Didn't I say we talked? You know, some correspondence said we talk about it here.
Right.
It was up to me.
Yeah, and we did talk about the subcommittee. So.
Okay. Any more public comments? Has everyone read the minutes for the October 21st meeting?
Could you email those to us?
So,
Yeah.
Okay, I'll print it.
Well, I brought my phone for sure.
Okay.
I have my copy, if you want to look at it.
So I have it on my email, I can print it off.
Is there a way that we could see the minutes?
Why not?
Oh, but why don't we could just read them out loud, then we'd all have the same thing like that.
Good.
I'm getting mine copied.
Village of Jameson Board meeting minutes, October 21st, 2014. Board members present: Patty Baker, Chairman; Natalie May, Aletha Turley, Beth Wheeler, and David Leinhardt. Employees present: Jim Cook, Jan Dooley, Denise Caven Clerk. Absent: Wally Sperry and Jason Emerson. Guest: Lucille Lusk. Patty called the board meeting to order at 6:31 p.m. Patty asked for a motion to approve the agenda. David moved to approve the October 21st, 2014 agenda with the following corrections. The next meeting is 6:30 p.m. Aletha seconded, and the motion carried. Patty asked for a motion to approve the September 18th minutes. Aletha moved to approve the September 18th, 2014 minutes as presented. David seconded, and the motion carried. Patty asked for a motion to approve the October 2nd special meeting minutes. Aletha moved to approve the October 2nd, 2014 special meeting minutes as presented. Patty seconded, and the motion carried. Ordinance Enforcement Officer. Patty reported she talked with board member David Leinhardt about serving as a village enforcement officer. At the October meeting, David had talked about taking on the job of enforcement officer, and Patty followed up with him about the job. That was that October 2nd, I think, meeting, wasn't it? Just for clarification.
Yeah, since it's the October minutes, it'd be good to
Right,
say what October.
yeah. Board member Beth Wheeler expressed concern that she had not been informed that David was interested in the position. David stated he had talked about being an enforcement officer at the last meeting, so that would have been the September meeting, and he would be willing to take on the job. Before any further discussion by the board could proceed, several residents objected to David serving as enforcement officer. After much discussion and several suggestions by residents from the village, Patty asked for a motion to appoint Beth and David to serve as a committee to consider alternative options for ordinance enforcement. Aletha moved to appoint board members Beth Wheeler and David Leinhardt as a committee to address options for ordinance enforcement. Natalie seconded, and the motion carried. The committee will report back to the board at the November meeting. Bills for discussion and approval: Lucille Lusk. The clerk gave the first reading of bill number 2014-18, amending section 5 of ordinance number 2011-05, property maintenance, to provide for an exemption to the height limit on the growth of naturally forested vacant land and related matters. Lucille discussed the changes requested by the board at the last meeting. The clerk gave the second reading of bill number 2014-18. Patty asked for any further discussion. There being none, Patty asked for a motion. Beth moved to approve bill number 2014-18, amending section 5 of ordinance 2011-05, property maintenance. Natalie seconded the motion. The vote was as follows: Patty, yay; Aletha, yay; Natalie, yay; Beth, yay; David, yay. The vote to approve was unanimous, and the motion carried. The clerk gave the first reading of bill number 2014-19, amending ordinance number 2012-03, Board of Trustees and Chair, to insert section 14, Code of Conduct for Public Meetings and Related Matters. Lucille discussed the addition of a Code of Conduct for public meetings. After such discussion, the clerk gave the second reading of bill number 2014-19. Patty asked for any further discussion. There being none, Patty asked for a motion. Natalie moved to approve bill number 2014-19, amending ordinance number 2012-03, Board of Trustees and Chair. David seconded the motion. The vote was as follows: Patty, yay; Aletha, yay; Natalie, yay; Beth, yay; and David, yay. The vote to approve was unanimous, and the motion carried. Water project. Beth reported on the user agreements for the village. The board discussed signing user agreements for the park and the old city hall building. Denise reported the two hookups would cost the village a minimum of $60 per month, $30 each. Beth made a motion to sign a user agreement for the park and to ask the Lions Club to pay the monthly water charge. Natalie seconded. The motion carried. Beth made a motion to sign a user agreement for the old city hall building. David seconded, and the motion carried. Denise presented the following RFS, that is request for funds forms from Green Hills for approval by the board. Invoice number 1, administration, $4,684.50, and environmental review, $3,000, for a total of $7,684.50. Beth asked if the money for the RFFs had been deposited in the account. Denise reported the money had not been released, but the invoices would not be paid until the funds were deposited. Patty asked for a motion to approve. Natalie moved to approve the RFFs from Green Hill. David seconded and the motion carried. Natalie and Letha signed the RFFs. Financial report. Denise gave the financial report. The balance in the general checking account as of October 21st, 2014 was $1,772.48, and the balance in the restricted funds account as of is $2,466.27. Patty asked for a motion to approve the financial report. David moved to approve the October 21st, 2014 financial report. Natalie seconded and the motion carried. Water Department. Jim gave the Water Department report. Water usage was up for the month. The balance in the water general checking account is $7,577.56. Jan reported on the water system report from DNR. There were a few minor issues which have been taken care of. Sewer Department. Denise gave Jason's report on the sewer. All paperwork is up to date with DNR. Jason added some bugs to cell 1 for oil and grease control. Jim reported the balance in the sewer general checking account is $4,226.44. Fundraisers. The board discussed the details of the Hunter's breakfast. Biscuits, gravy, eggs, coffee, and juice will be served 9 to 12. David moved to allow a budget of $125 for food and supplies for the breakfast. Aletha seconded and the motion carried. Natalie, Aletha, Beth, Jim, and Denise will work the breakfast. Denise reported that Tammy Gay has agreed to cook lunch for the spring tea and fashion show. The village will be providing lunch at 11:30 for the Christmas festival. Jan and Denise will contact people about donating food for the meal. Jan did all the contacting, Denise didn't do anything. Oh, that's not it. New business. Lori Fisher presented a letter requesting the withdrawal of Jameson Village, and I have to stick by that because it's not the correct title, from the Small Towns Cooperative Agreement. That's also inaccurate. Patty read the letter to the board. Beth stated she had attended several meetings of the Small Town Cooperative Board, STCB, and believes the board should continue to participate. After some discussion, David moved for the Board of Trustees of the Village of Jameson to continue their membership in the Small Towns Cooperation Board. Natalie seconded and the motion carried. Public comment. Mary Ann Probert stated this board is being led by the STCB and Agenda 21. Brent Hartman stated the board is not being honest and he does not trust them and called the board members liars. Mary Miller stated the board said that they were against hiring an OEO. Sue Brodt asked for alternatives to an OEO and suggested a group composed of board members, residents, and members of community betterment to discuss other ideas for ordinances and ordinance enforcement officer. Warren Worley talked about the Boston Tea Party and the American Revolution. Board of Trustees comments. Aletha read a statement, see attached, and I don't have that with me. I don't know if I got it or not. To the board and residents regarding the board's responsibility to residents and the necessity of ordinances. Beth reminded everyone's trunk and treat at the school on Halloween. There being no further business, Patty asked for a motion to adjourn. Aletha moved to adjourn. Natalie seconded. The motion carried. The meeting adjourned at 7:59. Respectfully submitted to Denise Gavin, clerk. Now, that one line up there about David, it should be the September meeting. That's a correction there. At the October meeting, David, it should be the September, because I do think it was the September meeting that came up, but I can't be positive. Do you remember for sure?
No.
Well, it was the meeting before that one, so.
Yeah, well, the October one was
When
a
did we have
special
ours?
meeting, and that was really quick and over. That was the
No, but
agreement.
one with David's article was
November
David
12th. November 12th.
So then we had to back up from there.
Yeah, it would be the September meeting.
Yeah.
So we need to make a correction. It says at the October meeting, and it would be the September meeting, because this is the October meeting's minutes. So it should be September.
I move the correction.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I also
Wait a second.
have a correction.
Wasn't mine.
Hang on. David, did you move to a,
Beth.
Beth moved, I seconded.
okay, I knew you were both there.
What did we just vote on?
Amending the minutes. We haven't voted yet.
Okay, I got it. corrections from.
Approve, do I have a motion to approve the minutes for this October meeting?
I make a motion we approve.
No, I had a correction, sorry.
I'm sorry?
I thought I said that. The trunk or treat was not at the school, it was in this building, right?
Oh, okay.
In downtown Jameson.
Okay.
Sorry. Like
Trunk or
switch.
treat was,
You said at the school and.
at Lions Hall?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, so,
I move the approval of the correction. If you want to vote on it.
All in favor?
we got a second.
I
I
didn't
guess
second.
I'll second. This is the correction on the
Correction, the
Lions Hall.
second correction.
You're right, you should have got them all done.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Okay, now we have to approve the minutes as presented. That's
All right,
correct.
I have a motion
Yeah.
to approve the corrected minutes.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes and corrections, or the corrected minutes, however you want to play it. Say it.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Bill for discussion and approval. This is Les. Turn that over to you.
Slide everything north.
What?
Do you want me to read it first, or do you want
Your preference
Second round.
eventually has to be read twice, so.
to? All right, how about we do a first reading? First reading of Bill 2014-20, amending Section 1 of Ordinance 2012-03, Board of Trustees and Chair, to update the qualifications for trustee pursuant to recently enacted Missouri law.
Okay, as I think by now you probably already know, there were a number of changes to election law made at the, pretty close to the end of the last session of the legislature. There were a couple of bills, HB 1136 and SB 593. What I'm presenting to you comes from HB 1136. I was going to brief you on SB 593, but I see by your agenda that Beth has that. So I'll wait till after that and then chime in afterwards on that if there's anything that I have to offer on it. But what's before you is simply a change to the qualifications for people who run for the Board of Trustees. The legislature determined that they wanted the law as it applies to larger, other entities to apply to municipalities. And so they made some changes, and the result for Board of Trustees qualifications are shown on F and G of your copy of this bill. Hopefully you have it. Everybody's got it?
You got yours? Did you print yours out?
I didn't print anything.
It says right at the top, Bill 2014-20.
I got an extra copy floating around here.
4-20, is that?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and all of the language that's on here is current in your ordinance except for the strikeouts and bolds. What has changed is that the payment of municipal user fees no longer is a disqualifier for running for board office, but instead the state has replaced it with not being delinquent in the filing or payment of any state income taxes, personal property taxes, municipal taxes, or real estate taxes on his or her place of residence. And also that the person can't be a present or past corporate officer of any fee office that owes any taxes to the state other than those taxes that may be in dispute. And fee offices are the driver's license offices, and there's one other that is not coming to me at the moment. But unless you were a corporate officer, one of those, you need not worry about it. Nevertheless, it is a qualification. There are a couple of other things that aren't in this that I just wanted to make you aware of. There's some issues with running for two offices at the same election, but they're not entirely clear. And you are not responsible for policing them, so they don't need to be in the qualifications. That is a matter that would have to be handled by the county clerks and others. So that's all there is to it. Now, you also have, just go ahead and tell you about both of them because they're the same. You also have before you, as your next item of business, a declaration of candidate for a trustee, and it's changed in the same way. So if you approve the ordinance, and it is required by law as far as what the qualifications are, then your declaration of candidacy would be changed accordingly, and it serves as a good notification to the candidates as to what is actually expected. So, are there any questions with regard to the ordinance?
Well, I notice it says on the declaration form, I am not currently aware of any delinquency in filing or payment of any state income tax, blah, blah, blah. But the packet that we have sends in and has to verify that. So all you need to file is just to say I'm not aware of it. But then it gets verified later, I guess, by the state.
Yes, the state is in, you're talking about that Form 5120,
Okay.
and that's what this is related to. The Department of Revenue is where you send that it's an affidavit is what it actually is. And you send it to the Department of Revenue, and they are responsible for verifying it, and if there are any complaints with regard to it, they are responsible for enforcing it.
But they only enforce
So-
the state portion of it, right?
This is they enforce it all.
So they
enforce it
check
all.
the personal property
Yes,
taxes?
that's a change. They enforce it all. Now, I do not, my opinion is, though I cannot say for sure, but my opinion is that they will not review it on that portion unless there's a complaint. I think they'll check the state taxes, and I do not think they will check the locals. But if there's a complaint, they will, and they are the responsible party for enforcing. So, it's a change in terms of the process. Any other questions?
All right, second reading for Bill 2014-20, amending Section 1 of Ordinance 2012-03, Board of Trustees and Chair to update the qualification for trustee pursuant to recently enacted Missouri law.
I move the approval.
I have a second.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Okay, on the declaration of candidacy, something occurred to me that I thought you might want to know, but it slipped my mind, so if it comes back, I'll tell you.
It comes back around. All right, roll call. Patty?
Yay.
Aletha?
Yeah.
Got you.
Deb?
Yes.
David?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, passes unanimously. All right, this is the one you need to sign for me on the back right here, and sign in your spot. Please don't sign it in mine. Okay, thank you. And then,
Onto the declaration.
Yeah,
I remember what it was. Beth's asking about the I am not currently aware. It made me think of something, and that is that when you file for office, you haven't necessarily paid your personal property taxes because it's before the end of the year. Sometimes it's before the end of the year. So you're saying that you're not currently aware of any delinquent filing, and that's all you have to say at that point. But when they check it, you have to have actually filed if you have a filing due. Thank you. Any questions? Here.
so the declaration basically reflects what you just
Reflects
approved, and we just need a motion if you want to approve the new declaration.
Have a motion to approve the declaration.
I make a motion that we approve the declaration for candidates for trustees.
Have a second.
Second.
Oh.
Sorry.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye. We got a roll call, I suppose?
No, we don't need a roll
Okay,
call on
there
that.
you go.
Motion passed. Thank you, Lucille. You're welcome. Okay, Miss Beth.
Senate Bill 583, I passed it out, 593, and I think there are extra copies there, I left them out there if you want them. This is another change by the state General Assembly that became effective August 28th of 2014 that affects elections in Missouri. And how it would impact the village is that the board can choose to or not to put before the voters at an election the option of participating in this new law, which would say if you have the same number of candidates as you have openings for an election, then the village would not have to have an election at that time, in the, an April election, and thus they would not have to pay any of the fees, fines, not fines, but fees or costs associated with that election. What it does is shift those costs to those who don't have the same number of voters, as candidates and safety vacancies, one of those V words. So if you cannot have it on the ballot at the same time you're having, it doesn't go into effect until it's passed, and then it's the next election that it's good for. So that's what it does.
What do you mean by shifting it to,
Well-
if we decided not to do that, to pay that amount, and we don't have to do it if we don't want to, then it goes to any other villages or whatever,
Right. Well,
and they have to pay it, it raises theirs.
right, and it's not, we don't decide, we just decide whether to put this on the ballot for the voters to decide whether they want to do that.
Okay.
And so, but just to make sure that it was clear that we're not deciding except to put it before the voters or not to put it before the voters. But if we do put it before the voters and the voters would say, yeah, that's a good idea, why would we want to incur those costs? Then we wouldn't have to do it. But the costs for elections are based on how many voters you have registered in your district and how many registered voters are all in the county, and it's all apportioned out. I actually got the numbers from, I think our costs have ranged from $114. Of course, now I can't lay my hands right on it at the moment, I have too many sheets of paper. So, anyway, that's what it does. Sorry. Sheets of paper. So, that, we can talk about it, look at it, decide. I think the final day to get it on the April ballot, if we wanted to do that, and I think we should get input from others as well, is certainly after the January 20th, because that's when the candidate filing closes, so I'm sure we don't have to have it before then, but I do not know the actual date.
Can I ask a question?
I don't know, I think you need to see the chair.
So we need to put it on our ballot if we want to use this State Bill 593 before we can use it as a village.
It won't be
So we have to-
until after it's voted on.
We have to vote on it before if we wanted to use it. Okay.
Do we need to vote on this, Beth?
I don't know if people want to study it and look at it and read it and decide, or
Just wait. Okay, we've got a little bit. All right, is that all right with
oh,
everyone?
it'd have to be done, we have to decide at the January
Yeah.
meeting, so, but yes, there is time. And, or we could do it the next year, we don't have to do it this time.
All right.
Could I add one or two items with regard to it? Beth did a good job of covering it. The one thing that wasn't mentioned that is really important for people to know is that if you decide to